Okay, so let's start. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Shishi Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Shishi Vijay Doyal Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. This morning we're studying further on Chaitanya Charitamrita, a biography of our worshipable deity, Kali Yoga Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the verse is Madhya Leela chapter 6, 198. But before that, we read a short excerpt from Transcendental Diary by Harishori Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Giriraj Prabhu's visit here was brief. So brief, in fact, that he left without Srila Prabhupada knowing. And before His Divine Grace could discuss with him a pressing matter concerning the Delhi temple management, which is still in flux. Tejas Prabhu is still officially in charge, but he is complaining of ill health and strain. He has long wanted to opt out of management and just preach, but the problem has been to find a suitable replacement for him. After some discussion with Gopala Krishna Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada settled on a stopgap arrangement. Today he wrote to Gururaj requesting that he send Jagat Purusha Dasa here immediately for at least 1 month until something more permanent can be worked out. Hare Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You can see that it's ultimately relishable, even such a simple pastime, right? It's for us it might be not something extraordinary, special, but for the real followers who were close to Srila Prabhupada, that was everything for them. Just a small exchanges, some managerial problem. It was everything was permeated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his mission, and he was alive in such a moments, even managing the very severe moments of management. So just because we connect everything with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everything becomes very special. Okay, so we will read now the verse. Sanakadi Sukadeva Tahate Pramana. Sanakadi Sukadeva Tahate Pramana. Hey Matanana Artha Karina Vyakhyana. Hey Matanana Artha Karina Vyakhyana. Sanakadi Sukadeva Tahate Pramana. Hey Matanana Artha Karina Vyakhyana. Hey Matanana Artha Karina Vyakhyana. Okay, please. Okay, word by word. Every one of you read? All of you read? Repeat. Okay, yeah, please go ahead. Sanakadi Shukadeva Tahate Pramana. Hey Matanana Artha Karina Vyakhyana. Okay, word by word. Sanakadi. The four sanas. You know what four sanas is? The four sons of Brahma, Sanak, Sanatan. So Shukadeva and Shukadeva Goswami. Tahate, in that. Pramana, the evidence. Hey Mata, in this way. Nana, varieties. Artha, meaning. Karena, thus. Vyakhyana, explanation. It's interesting, word artha means meaning, which also could mean the wealth. Artha means, usually it's the word standing for wealth. And in this way, it's like the meaning, the truth, the essence in some way. So, translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the meaning of the verse by giving evidence concerning Shukadeva Goswami. And the four rishis, Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanatana, and Sanandana. Thus, the Lord gave various meanings and explanations. Okay, purport. That Krishna is all attractive is verified by the activities of the four rishis and Shukadeva Goswami. All of them were liberated persons, yet they were attracted by the qualities and pastimes of the Lord. It is therefore said, Mukta api lilaya vigraham kritva bhagavanantam bhajanti. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 24, 112. Even liberated persons are attracted by the pastimes of Lord Krishna and thus engage in devotional service. From the very beginning of their life, Shukadeva Goswami and the four Kumaras, known as Chatusana, were liberated and self-realized on the Brahman platform. Nonetheless, they were attracted by the qualities of Krishna and they engaged in his service. The four Kumaras were attracted by the aroma of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of Krishna, and in this way they became devotees. Sukadeva Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam by the mercy of his father Vasudeva, and he was consequently attracted to Krishna and became a great devotee. The conclusion is that the transcendental bliss experienced in the service of the Lord must be superior to Brahmananda, the bliss derived from realizing the impersonal Brahman. Again, I'll repeat the last sentence since it's very important, the last sentence. The conclusion is that the transcendental bliss experienced in the service of the Lord must be superior to Brahmananda, the bliss derived from realizing the impersonal Brahman. This is something to remember. Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamagyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamaram Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Simate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shratane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, we'll read again the verse. Time we have till 9, right? 9 o'clock. Okay, so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the meaning of the verse by giving evidence concerning Shukadeva Goswami and the four rishis, Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sanatana, and Sanandana. Thus the Lord gave various meanings and explanations. The chapter is under the name Liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. The whole chapter. So I'm really grateful for opportunity to even to touch Chaitanya Charitamrita, to be honest. It's so exalted, so amazingly great. It's by most of our acharyas, it was the most favorite book for the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It was his most favorite book, most readable book. He studied all throughout, his life, and but therefore his main stress was on Bhagavad Gita. To preach, we have to preach Bhagavad Gita. We cannot go and speak much for people of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very hard to understand. It's very difficult. Even if we go to temple and worship the deity, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It's not very easy to say. Maybe you can say, maybe some of you can answer this question. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Nilamada Prabhu, can you just one sentence put it the formula? Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Jai. Prabhu, devotee of Krishna.
He came on the earth to teach us how we to serve Krishna.
Yeah.
In a proper way.
Okay. What? Everything has been said here. I often quite hear Srila Prabhupada gave many classes on Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Many hours spoken, it's really nectar. Prabhupada is just flooding nectar like anything in those classes. And then he says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. You know, there's some various ideas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know, some speculations also going on. Who's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Who's Nityananda? So it's very important to learn the tattva that is spoken in the first chapters of Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he lays down all the tattva of who actually is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's not easy, but we have to study it again and again and again to realize who is actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada says it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first, it's Krishna, it's God himself. It's Purusha. It's Kali Yuga Yagya Purusha. He's Purusha, he's Vishnu, he's Narayan, he's Krishna, you know. He's Krishna himself, but why did he descended? Krishna decided to appear like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he's the enjoyer of everything. You know, Purusha means the one to be served by everyone, and everyone is giving him pleasure. But eventually Krishna himself, he was looking for that pleasure of Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Unexperienced pleasure. And that is exactly what Purusha cannot feel, right? Because everyone is serving him. He doesn't need to serve anyone. He can, Krishna says, I don't need to do anything, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you know. Actually, you know, I'm completely omnipotent, Krishna says. But when he noticed the ecstasies experienced by his devotees, he understood, wow, this is something I myself not aware of, you know, and he desired to experience this. So, you know, the plan was made up for Kali Yuga to come upon, and he used that opportunity to actually descend, to also preach the same message. He wants to experience this, but also he came to preach, because none of the living entities knew how to actually please the Lord, what is actually to be a devotee, or to realize yourself as individual living being, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanya Chaitanam, this Amsa and Vibhinamsa, the big part and the small part. So for us to realize that the small part of us, you know, is a jiva, who we are, a small particle, was even difficult even when Lord Krishna left Bhagavad Gita. You know, when Gita was spoken, many people, you know, looking for self-realization came upon with the words of Krishna, direct words of Krishna spoken in Bhagavad Gita, and learn many things. But followers did not knew how to practice devotional service, or how to realize that we are just servants, not God. To be God is, to be in illusion that one is God is nothing but a heavy, severe pain. It's heavy, severe pain. It's very, very, awful position, you know. It's heavy illusion. And eventually Prabhupada makes it sure that he confirms that it's a last snare of Maya. Last snare of Maya. It's the last test of Maya, and that is test by false ego. False egotism. That's the most subtle materialism we are, you know, illusioned by. And that is most difficult to overcome. And so therefore we might not be ready to give it up immediately, the false ego. It's a long-term process for most of us. It's something you know, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, you know, so it's a process of cleaning. We clean, scrub the mirror of the heart, and eventually, you know, at some point we get it cleaned, and we just shouldn't never drop out of the process. If we drop out the cleaning process, then we leave the mirror again to accumulate the dirt, you know, and then again we sometimes have to go and continue the cleansing process. So better to stay with the cleaning, stay convinced, stay enthusiastic, stay, motivated for self-realization, and then you keep in a line of cleaning processes. So yeah, this is it, and I'll go to the purport again. That conclusion is that the transcendental bliss experience in the service of the Lord must be superior to Brahmananda, the bliss derived from realizing the impersonal Brahman. So this is one part of it, of overcoming false ego. To overcome false ego is really painful. It's a really painful, heavy experience. And you have to give up your material attachment to this world, all of it, your body or your family, everything. Leave the world behind, finished, So it's really difficult, and usually it's the world is very painful, and we have to, experience a lot of pain. So the people who are actually looking for impersonal Brahman realization, the impersonalists, they want to escape. Their only goal is mukti. Is impersonal liberation, just to get out of this world, and that's it. Like you're in a nightmare, you're just trying to, just run away from the nightmare as soon as possible. You don't mind anything, you can leave anything behind. Never mind what is their mother, father, wife, whatever. Just drop out everything and just go out, But that's, confirmed by Shastra and by Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is not extremely blissful. Mukti is not so blissful. It's compared just like one tiny drop of a bliss, experience. What is to experience devotional life? Devotional life is like a full ocean of nectar and bliss. Service is that bliss, and impersonal Brahman is just a small drop of it. Just a little tiny bit. So the whole essence is in here, that to overcome liberation is very difficult. It's obvious that devotional service is not easy to realize, but when we on that stage, we understand that mukti is something awful. For devotee, mukti is hell. Is hell. For real devotee is hell. Mukti, that means impersonal. I don't see Krishna anymore. I'm there for my own enjoyment. That means I quit devotional service to, observe the Brahmanda, the ocean of bliss with no Krishna, So for devotee is hell. He never wants to leave the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. He never wants to leave, and he never wants to give up observing the Lord's features, pastimes, holy name, and hearing of them. So therefore, but since the Lord is most attractive, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the evidence, speaking with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that Krishna is most attractive because he attracts even liberated personalities, those who reach out for mukti and achieve mukti liberation. They preserve Brahmanda, but when they hear in that position, when they get a chance to hear of a glories of the Lord, they get immediately attracted. They realize this is higher taste. This is something higher, So that's how you do. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you abandon lower taste by achieving something higher. This is just how it works. And Krishna gives that higher taste, gives that higher. So again, the instruction of a Shastra, go higher, advance all the time, advance. In Chatur Shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, the last verse says, one who is honest seeker of absolute truth, by all means he has to look out for that absolute truth. Every second, every place, every circumstance, he has to look out for absolute truth. And that's a duty, actually, of a living entity. That's how it's being led to that position. You become curious, and then Krishna makes it so, arranges so that we have to all the time be observed in Krishna consciousness. Don't have any gap. So, and this is confirmation by Shukadev Goswami, because he's also speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he gives evidence by the four sons of Lord Brahma, which were impersonalists in the beginning, and Shukadev Goswami also. They were both these authors. Shukadev Goswami was Brahmavadi, and Sanatana and Sanandana, they also were Brahmavadis. They were liberated personalities, but was not aware that God is a person for the time being, for the pastime being, you know. So, but so Prabhupada explained that they have a chance. The Brahmavadis have a chance to become devotees. They're the only impersonalist category that they have a chance to become devotees. So when we preach, we have to be expert to find those Brahmavadis. Not Mayavadis, not impersonalists, but Brahmavadis, because they don't commit offense. They're just honest people who say that this is my realization, this is what I came up to, and I don't know. What is further on, I don't know, I'm not sure. But the staunch Mayavadi impersonalist says, I know. It's a rule, God cannot be a person. You know, I know, and this is how they make offense. You know, they close down their ways for Godhead. So therefore we learn from them, the ones who go gradually, but eventually they don't condemn the theory that God may exist, you know. So that's a nature of a pious person who is not averse to God by just nature. Didn't build up his aversity to Godhead. The Mayavada is basically atheism, very rough atheism. It's just offense to the Lord, you know. And therefore, Krishna doesn't allow them to get close. It's basically, he says that that's not possible even for them to, you know. There's no chance. So it's very difficult to associate or to preach to them. Basically, Prabhupada recommended just to avoid, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended avoiding. Again, here we learn the whole chapter is speaking about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You have to go away?
Yeah,
For a second. Okay. Okay. So the chapter is speaking about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Actually, the bhajan I wanted to sing is also written by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. It's very, very special song. Very, very, very special song. So in that bhajan, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sings that, you know, the main line of the song, it goes, Pranamami Sachi Sutta Gauravaram. I bow down to that Lord, Chaitanya, who is the son of Mother Sachi, you know. So you can just imagine the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a great, great, great leader of Shankaracharya lineage, a great Mayavadi preacher. He was extremely recognized, very, very recognized. So recognized that up even today, they are in India. They are aware of his writings. He's still famous in India, in the schools of Varanasi and Mayapur. You know, the Mayavadi is still aware of his writings. And but when he turned to a devotee, that was great shock for everyone. Everyone got shaken. You know, how such a staunch renunciant, who used to, even being a family man, used to teach sannyasi Mayavadis of renunciation. That was never met, you know, anywhere else. It was like completely extraordinary. So, and then he turned into a so-called sentimentalist who cries, chants, and dance like crazy. So for Mayavadis, it's like a fall down. Well, what's going on? What's happening? It's unconceivable. But this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proved, you know, that God is a person, you know, and that how to understand that his explanation of Vedanta is superior. And we have to take advantage of that situation. Because still up to today, every time we preach, anywhere we go, we have to prove the Bhaktivedanta purport of Vedanta, right? That is, God is a person. The ultimate goal for self-realization is to perform devotional service. Devotional service is Krishna himself. That's what we preach. So, and then again, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya got converted. So it's a sign of a chintamani, when a preacher or a charya turns someone that big into a devotee, that shows that he is like a chintamani. Everything comes in touch with him, becomes also chintamani, becomes brilliant and turns into a devotee. So the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recognize like that. Their presentation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such effective that anyone they can turn to a devotee, anyone, by complete understanding and being completely observed in devotional service, empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then, a person who spoke that God is not a person, God is, according to Vedanta, he's, something, that we all gods or something like that. And then again turns into a crazy man, and what he speaks about. He speaks that I worship Sachi Sutta, I worship God, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, descended in front of me, actually, he's here. And actually worship him, and I worship his mother. I worship the mother of God. I worship that mother, Sachi Sutta, So, for Mayavadi impersonalists, it's very difficult. I mean, these type of things. God has a mother. What is this? God has mother, God has father, It's too much. It's too much. So they cannot realize this. For devotee, there's also in Chaitanya Charitamrita very few verses spoken by or quoted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. I think it's from other sources like Puranas, that some great rishis, they spoke how the prayers that, I was looking, I'll just paraphrase this to give you the content. I don't remember by heart. That, I was looking for a great Brahmanda. I was observed in great Brahmanda, looking for self-realization. But somehow this small boy showed up and made me a maid servant of his, So it's for some, who's very powerful, austere, to get turned into this, is quite perplexing, and and that's, but they enjoy it. They understand this is it. This is final destination. And another prayer is in Srimad Bhagavatam that it's quoted by Srila Prabhupada. It says, some may be engaged in worshipping the absolute truth by studying Mahabharata and other great scriptures, Puranas, and perform austerities. I will just worship Nanda Maharaj, in whose courtyard the absolute truth that they are looking for is crawling in his courtyard. The great yogis, rishis, munis, and ascetics, and all people searching out for that absolute truth. He's here in Nanda Maharaj yard, crawling with the cows, small boy, absolute truth. So for Mayavadis, it's far out to understand. They cannot understand this. The impersonalists. Even the great demigods, they were in confusion. Lord Brahma, Lord Indra. When Krishna performed his pastimes, they were not able to understand. It's confirmed by Bhagavatam that Dharma Projita Kaitavata Parama Nirmat Saranam Satam, and then goes, it's it's in the first, it's Janmadhyasya Yato Mayatita Tashertesh Tejo Vari Mirdam Yatavidnamayo Yatati Sargam Risha Tejo Vari Mirdam Yatavi. How the verse goes, that even the great, the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam starts that, oh my Lord, even the great demigods become bewildered, in trying to understand you. Tejava, anyway, I forgot the line. So, Lord Krishna is not easy to understand. Only if we become pure. Only if we become pure. Otherwise, Krishna will put us in illusion and trick us for purification. Maya is here to purify us. If there's any tinge, of in the heart, is Krishna might put us in bewilderment to purify, to actually aspire more for him, to him, to cleanse the heart, to continue on with process of cleansing. That is actually main of the reasons why demigods are descending in Kali Yuga. From this time, this place and time and circumstance, the demigods desire to be born here in Köln also. Why for? We're trying to escape this place. And they trying to get born here. Can you imagine? Why? Why is that? Can someone answer? Yeah, also that this guy Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is our gateway to Krishna Lila. This is our gateway. The most easiest way and most easiest, most simple way. Actually, we just have to be honest and we have to be, embracing Lord Nityananda's Guru and Gauranga's feet and just trust them, put all our faith in them, And by worshipping them, they open up our possibilities to enter the transcendental pastimes of Radha and Krishna, to become transcendentally situated. No one else actually, anywhere else, opens up these opportunities to go that high, to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life for everyone, every living entity. And here it's available, right here, easy, in easy way. So what I've been speaking of, that the great demigods, they take part in the pastime. So, but the main point is that even the great demigods are not able to enter the pastime. They cannot enter. Only if Krishna desires so, they can participate in pastime like, Brahma Vimohana Lila and everything. But to go to Goloka Vrindavan, they cannot enter also. Lord Shiva tried, right? To enter rasa dance. It was difficult even for him. I mean, he experienced some. The gopis gave him a hard time. But eventually he's there. He's as Gopeshwara, guarding, right? But it's not easy even for them. So why? Because there's different mood, there's different situation for them, So when the demigods get to know that Lord Chaitanya is allowing to enter the most, intimate pastimes of Goloka Vrindavan in this way, just performing Sankirtan Yagya, they are rushing to descend, to take part of it. They are those demigods, not every demigod descend, only those who are willing to give up their Sakama Bhakti performance. They want to adopt Akama Bhakti, get purified. So they come also for purification. To overcome material desires. Even they have to overcome them. Because for them it's a next step to enter into Akama Bhakti or Nishkama Bhakti, to become pure. And then they can enter to Golok Vrindavan, ultimate destination. So it's it's not easy, the most difficult thing, But it made easy by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just by singing holy name in the street. It can be done, It's easy in the beginning, and of course, eventually the purification has its phases, and so you can ask the great Mahajanas, our spiritual masters, sannyasis, who visit this Köln and perform it every day. There's devotees who go on and go out in the street no matter what, every day. You might assume they're very special. Just try to understand that they're very special, Because it's conclusion of a Shastra, it's confirmed by the Shastra that holy name sadhana is the topmost sadhana. Harinam Sankirtan sadhana is the topmost sadhana. Nothing is greater than Harinam Sankirtan sadhana. Nothing is greater. And the Shastra continues on to say that if other type of sadhanas don't bring you up to this sadhana, it's just a waste of time. So, holy name, we never give up chanting holy name. We never give up. One devotee in Vrindavan, he even, he is recognized as one of the great devotees. So he was worshipping his deities, and eventually he found that he's not able to finish his rounds. And he has to dress his deities every day, everything. He's not able to finish his rounds. So he used to leave his deities undressed just to finish his rounds. It's something not to follow for us, maybe, but he was very serious about it. And devotees in Vrindavan, they're very serious. They're liberated. In Vrindavan, if you're residing in Vrindavan for years, what do you need to do? But they still sit down with japa and finish their rounds all the time. They're very careful, observe their japa vrats. So that's very, very important. And for devotees, something really sweet to chant holy name. They relish chanting. It's not austere for them. The beginning is austerity, but at the end is just nectar. Like Rupa Goswami proves it. He prays, I want to have millions of ears and tongues to pronounce holy name. But also he gives a warning that is, not a warning, but an explanation that in the beginning it might taste like a sweet candy, but it might be tasteless because of jaundice. It's tasty, but we don't know how it's tasty because we're in ignorance, avidya. We're so much in ignorance, we cannot relish that. There's a famous saying, give a pearl to a pig. It's the same for him. He will still stay with the stool. Or Prabhupada makes it more precise. Give halava to a pig. He might not even touch it. He's backward to his stool. So a person in avidya, he cannot relish that sweetness. Though the sincere ones, they try, and that's a process. We try. The way to get healed from jaundice is to keep on chewing the sweet candy. You keep on chewing, and then you start feeling it. Okay, it's sweet. So, and when it's really sweet, you can go ecstatic. You can become ecstatic. So holy name also permeated with understanding, with glorification of that holy name, to understand how it's Krishna himself. It makes us more convinced on chanting and the process itself. And then when we convince, then we are able to trespass the mukti stage, or desire for liberation. Desire for liberation, because it's always available for us. For a devotee, for the one who pleased Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or qualified, mukti, bhukti, and who else is there? Three type of liberation, wealth, and what's the third one? Bhukti, mukti. Anyway, they're waiting by the door. They're just waiting to serve him. But but we actually, the devotee is the one who does not care about that. He wants to trespass that, and that is done by conviction, firm conviction, that wealth and fame and liberation is not it's not favoring real, the real deal. Why we're here, and it's not something to enjoy. And from impersonal mukti type of liberation, devotee still has to fall down. Or not the devotee, like impersonalists, they still have to fall down. That's not actual liberation, confirmed by Shukadev Goswami himself. He says, the same authority says that eventually they have to go down if they don't aspire the ultimate destination, they don't achieve higher taste for service, they have to go back to look for that, gap they are missing. What they're missing, and that is relationship. That is missing. You cannot be full without relationship. So they come back for that relationship, and they still go back to associate with matter, with illusion. Some of them, looking for that because it's still in memory. Memory comes back, fall down. But sometimes Narada Muni is traveling through Brahmanda and all of these things, and they hear the kirtan of Narada Muni, and they get attracted, and they follow Narada Muni, and they experience the higher bliss, and they go for their own. Also, the Shiva followers, they're being trained by Lord Shiva how to trespass mukti. They're being trained to perform bhajan of Krishna. So these four sampradayas, four Kumaras, like Shri Lakshmi, Brahma, and Shiva, they're all actually training how to serve Radha and Krishna. They're preparing us for. But in our sampradaya is special because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving the essence, sum and essence, very easy way for everyone, and he doesn't ask for much. He is actually chasing, in the mood of chasing and spreading the mercy to everyone. To understand this more is a story, one nice story from Ramanuja Acharya lineage. I don't remember it's just a story. It goes that there was one spiritual master and a disciple, and the disciple was looking for absolute truth, and Acharya Guru gave him a mantra, secret mantra. He said, you chant this mantra and you will become God realized, and you will, you won't suffer, you won't get born again. So you chant this and go back to Godhead. But the main deal is you don't tell this mantra to anyone. I forbade you to tell this mantra to anyone. If you speak out this mantra to anyone else, you'll go to hell. So and after a few days, that Acharya, he was walking the street and he saw people, crying and chanting and dancing and going crazy, and in the middle, and he heard that those people are chanting that exact mantra. Now those people were chanting that secret exact mantra he told recently to his disciple. And he immediately went and chastised his disciple. He said, "What are you doing? What's going on? And I told you not to tell anyone. Now you have to go to hell." And you know what disciple answered? He said, "I don't care to go to hell. I don't care. All of these people got this mantra to go back to Godhead. I don't care to go to hell." This is how acharyas actually sometimes, they take up so much, extraordinary much, but they give a chance to others. That's quite of a qualification for preaching. And, they don't care about themselves much. Others' happiness are more important for them than their own. And this is a qualification of acharyas. There's a verse in 8th canto that they say that the great souls actually take up the suffering of others. They're collecting suffering of others, just to for their own, the other living entities' benefit, to advance. So sometimes just to put in a perspective how to understand it. Sometimes the great personalities, they suffer, or they get sick and so on, and because they take it up. It's a duty of a sadhu to purify others and take it up. So I asked also Maharaj question, Bhakti Anugraha, Janardhan Swami, and he made fun of me. He said, you're not qualified for that. He teased me a little bit that there's one acharya in Bhagavatam that asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his name was Vasudev, something, I forgot his name, that he asked for benediction from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Also just he said, I'm ready to observe all the sins of the world, please transfer them to me for everyone to be liberated. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a joking, he put a smile on him, but he answered that you don't need to. They already liberated. You already liberated just by this desire, something like that. He answered. He said they're already liberated. You don't need to, try to do such things. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared and he liberated. All the world came to, immediately they all went back to Godhead. That's because he appeared. And there was extraordinary things happening on earth at that time. Someone just mentioned, and even Christopher Columbus got liberated because he lived at that time. And all the other things. Actually, extraordinary things used to happen at that time. At that period of time, one Christian Catholic nun was living, and there's a record around that time that she saw Goloka Vrindavan. Yeah, she experienced Goloka Vrindavan in her prayers. He said for an hour and a half, it's in her diary, you can even approach that diary. His description, she was praying, very serious one, very serious, in Europe. Very serious. I mean, there's descriptions in your diary. She underwent very serious purifications, and eventually, she said, "In my prayer, I saw a vision of a God. He said, I saw a heavenly realm, a very nice garden. She said, similar to that of a description of Solomon book in Old Testament." And then he said, I saw the beauty, the most beautiful person. And he was black, with some decoration on his head, like a garland on his head, And he was with her main lady, he was there, and he was such beautiful. And there was more maidservants around, she described. And they were all engaged in glorifying him. Singing glories, beautiful glories, And she said, it was so beautiful, so attractive. She said, I was there for an hour and a half in that vision. And he said, for me at that moment, I had even a tinge of doubt that that's God himself. She was worshiping Jesus like anything, like she was fully into that. But he said, that was not even a doubt in my heart. So, and and basically that's quite of evidence that Krishna is God of all. She was recognized as a saint by the church. So that was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu era. So those type of things could happen, at that time. And she was also fighting for vegetarianism. In her biography, is described that she was very seriously fighting for vegetarianism, for establishing vegetarianism for monks and nuns, that it's crucial to observe vegetarian diet for God self-realization, for God realization, So there you go, there's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu era. So, but it still continue on. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descended, and this is Kali Yuga. In this Kali Yuga, this a pastime is still going on. It's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pastime. We just have to take it up and participate in it. The gateway is still there. We should not close down the gateway. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is still available. Prabhupada is still available. Everything is still available. You can go there. The way is Kirtanya Sadahari. Chant the holy name all the time. Preach holy name. Follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. What he's teaching, what he's preaching. And everyone is eligible to enter. Become eligible, maybe. Still it's a process. Maybe just a few sentences more, and we go to questions. That the whole chapter of this pastime, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to defending personalism. Whole Chaitanya Mahaprabhu philosophy is to defend personal feature of the Lord. That God is a person, and it's opposition to Mayavad. And this is a challenge for today's world, because we find outside people or major societies immersed very deeply in impersonalism. And that's, for devotees, it's giving a big trouble, and it's very offensive to the Lord also. This is why we have to be well versed also. The preachers have to be well versed to dispel the Mayavada philosophy. because someone might come up and say, I'm God. How do we know that he's not God? We have to prove to him. Someone might be very stubborn about it. We have to be very versed to prove to them, dispel their illusion. So I was preaching, and that's one example. I was preaching in London, just prior arriving to Netherlands and Germany. And one of the days in the street, I met a person looking a little bit like Duryodhan, and and he asked me, do I know Krishnamurti or something like that? I don't know. And my answer to this is, I said to him in quite of a joking, playful way, I said, I know Krishnamurti. We have in our temple, 7 Krishnamurtis. Let's go, I'll show you, We have 7 murtis. So I said, let's go, okay. But before entering the temple, I understood we have to sit down and speak. Someone didn't allow me to, invite him in the temple. It's not that easy. So we sat down and I tried to dispel his confusion of feeling to be God. So to my surprise, I found out that he was completely versed of Mayavad philosophy, He understood, he was he started speaking like complete Mayavad and all the details, like everything very nicely arranged. Very nicely, like in all corners, how he's God, But eventually we came to the point of, then if you're God, I looked at him, I said, you don't look very rich, You didn't cut your hair here, God has very beautiful hair, And you smoke? I said, what is this, And so I said, you look like a suffering, my friend. You look a little suffering. I said, why God would ever suffer? God doesn't need to suffer. And then, he gave like a common answer that it's my pastime. Prabhupada speaks of it also. It's like, I choose. We all in the pastime of suffering. We choose to suffer. It's nice. In other words, it's like I'm all right to suffer. And I thought, oh my dear, it's like heavy. It's too much. And then we went to a discussion of illusion. Then I said, can you come out of a suffering? Because this illusion is giving you trouble, definitely. So that means that you're not the master of illusion. And ultimately he answered that, this is just a dream. I'll wake up, it's gone. I said, you're not in control of this dream. I said, the chair you're sitting on is not under your control, This illusion is made by higher source, and that source is seemingly that it does not suffer. It doesn't choose to suffer at all. Krishna doesn't ever perform a pastime of a bum in the street. This is what they say, Daridra Narayan, the beggar god. In India it's famous. The beggar god, the god who's a bum. Krishna doesn't do that. Krishna in is real tattva, not an expansion. He descends and he makes it clear, I'm God. He makes it clear. He doesn't go as a beggar, especially when he descended 5,000 years ago. He made it clear, I'm God. He made it clear to everyone. And there was devotees who defended that, so. And there's a pastime you can, a little bit close to that, there was one expansion, partial expansion, Rishabhadev, right? At the end when he departed, he was a king, he left his kingdom and he performed renunciation, so he became like Avadut, He pretended Avadut and he was lying in the street as a beggar, like without anything, passing stool on himself, and so on. People used to throw stones at him, spit on him, pee on him, and so on, water on him. And but eventually when he used to pass stool, it used to emanate extremely nice, fragrant smell, and everyone was confused. Anyone who used to smell it, they become, purified. So it's a difference. So someone, might go there, but it's completely different situation. You won't find anyone close to that today, It's not possible. And also God's descendants and avatars and so on, they are confirmed by Shastra all the time. All of them, they are confirmed by Shastra. This is why we never negate Shastra. And Krishna himself, he's also obliged to Shastra. If something is confirmed by Shastra, he's obliged. Because it's spoken by pure devotee, and it's a wealth of a pure devotee. Srimad Bhagavatam is never to be rejected, because it's a wealth for pure devotees. It's really relishable for pure devotees. They never give up it. They just like to study it. They just like to stay with it. The 6 Goswamis, everyone. There's verses explaining that it's the ultimate praman, and that is confirmed by Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Srimad Bhagavatam is ultimate praman for science of love of Godhead. Caitanya Mahaprabhu and the gopis are the topmost servants confirmed by Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and love of Godhead is ultimate destination of a living entity. And that type of worship, like Vraja Bhumi, that's also confirmed by Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a statement made by Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur. He formed this conclusion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preaching. So, if we want to be followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's preaching Srimad Bhagavatam, and he is giving authority, Sukadeva Goswami. Here is explaining authority as Sukadeva Goswami. When we preach to some person around, we say, Sukadeva Goswami said this and this, and then he would say, who is Sukadeva Goswami? Who is he? Where I can find him? Where is his office? Did he existed? So, but the devotee, he does not, he knows that Sukadeva Goswami is alive in Shastra. And by reading his instructions, associating with him in a Shastra, he knows, he's fully aware of it, that it's not a usual thing, not a usual book, not a usual instruction, not a usual ink on paper. He's alive, Acharya is alive in his instruction. Acharya never leaves, Acharya never dies. Devotees never die. They are alive in a sound. In their instruction, they leave behind their instruction, and by that instruction, we associate with them. So therefore, Shastra is really valuable, and instructions of Guru is something for a devotee disciple to embrace completely. If you want to become self-realized, this instruction of spiritual master is the life and soul food, is all existence for a disciple, for a devotee. Is what he has to become, has to be completely immersed in it. So this is the science of bhakti. And if we found the most merciful, the one who can, he provided everything for us. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arranged this temple, this nice prasadam, and nice opportunity to think, to remember of him. We all wanted to be spiritual persons. He gave us a chance to become spiritual person. In actual sense, he explained what it's like to be a spiritual person. There's many funny, videos or something explaining what the spiritual person is. So it's a joke most of the time. This trying to externally be spiritual or something, but that's not it. Spiritual means by consciousness, and that consciousness, spiritual consciousness, is God consciousness, and God consciousness means Chaitanya. Chaitanya is, by nature, that means God consciousness. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the one who is giving out Krishna consciousness. So that's the sum and essence of becoming Krishna conscious, to become Krishna conscious. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conscious. Receive his mercy. All perfection is there. Okay, Hare Krishna. I have one question, or if anyone has. Yeah, okay.
Maybe in a short answer, if possible, where does this conception come from that Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu? And the main question, if someone says this in public,
This is a huge question, probably.
How to resolve, like how to tell them otherwise.
How to resolve it?
Yeah, like
Again, you can resolve it by Shastra very easily. I mean, there's a big explanation. It's considered actually anartha. To think that Vishnu is the source of Krishna is anartha. If you want to overcome, if you want to understand, you have to study Shastra. You have to go through all of a Bhagavatam. It's all explained there, in the purports, in the verses. It's explaining, how everything, expansions take place. Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Karanadakashaya Vishnu. Narayan is expansion of Krishna. And anartha is that anartha in the sense that God is pleased only by our, fearful attitudes or very extreme submissiveness, or, that's not ultimate. That's not ultimate. We have to understand, there's following rules and regulations, prescriptions, and all of this. This is not ultimate. You have to understand. But the lesson of it is if we very extremely concerned of it, so dead, heart dead on this, on Vaikuntha atmosphere, or rules, the regulations, everything, it can become an anartha to advance. It's quite be difficult if we don't know the sum and essence, the whole, essence of bhakti, what is pleasing to the Lord. We might not be there. We shouldn't imitate it, but we should know that Krishna is the source of everything, and how it's all arranged in Goloka Vrindavan. This we also have to learn what type of association is higher than that. That's our Prabhupada saying, back to Godhead. Going back to Godhead means going back to Krishna. Then Prabhupada said that's where we came from. Going back, that means we've been there, right? You cannot go back somewhere you have not been. So we're going back to Godhead, we're going back to Krishna, and that's Goloka Vrindavan. So it's a confusion, the God-fearful practice of rules and regulations, it has to be there. You cannot practice spontaneous loving devotional service within this world. You cannot just, it's difficult. It's not possible, basically. So by serving Lord in an attitude of rules and regulations, as Lakshmi and Narayan. In this world, we worship Lakshmi and Narayan. Vishnu. We worship in such attitude. We do it in the best capacity we can to follow everything precisely. And and this is our way to understand. Receive a mercy, Then you understand there's something higher. And then you understand how to worship Radha and Krishna, but he's not worshipped in material world. Radha and Krishna is not worshipped in here. That's very exalted worship. So not something to imitate, because it's not cheap, and also realized when you trespass, rules and regulations, high advanced level. So Krishna is the source of Vishnu. An easy way to explain this, put it in the words that Lord Vishnu wants to serve Krishna himself. There's verses explaining that. And when Arjuna wanted to, it's in Krishna book, story in Krishna book. We can read it tonight. And when Krishna took Arjuna to see Lord Narayan, there was some occasion that, what was actually the occasion? Anyway, the main point that they went to see Lord Narayan, and Lord explained to them, Lord Narayan himself, that he actually was desiring to see Krishna. He wanted to see Krishna himself. So all the other expansions of Krishna, the desiring to associate with Krishna, they all are sevens. That's also in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is explained. All the other expansions are actually sevens of that Supreme. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Nadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karna Karna. You wanted to say something more?
What if they don't? Like, what if you answer with, like it's all said in the scriptures, like reciting Brahmacari or reciting.
Oh, you mean how to refute it? If someone will say this.
Yeah, like I said, for example, that like in the Bhagavad Gita, when someone speaks, it says Arjuna Uvacha or Arjuna Uvacha, whatever. So he speaks, but when Krishna speaks, it doesn't say Krishna Uvacha, so it says Shri
Bhagavan Uvacha. So it's a Sanskrit.
But if they say like, if they don't accept the authority of the books, of the scriptures.
Yeah, you can. This is where they bounce it off, right? Bhagavan. Someone else could be called Bhagavan also. It's a rich person. But then again, there's all the other explanations of explaining who is Bhagavan. There's Bhagavan, someone rich, and who's ultimate rich. You can be rich, but can you own all the wealth of the world? That's a test, That's a test. If you're rich, okay, you're rich. I mean, can you go into that house and just own it? If you try to approach another flat, you'll get shot. They'll shoot you. You get arrested and you end up in jail. So what type of Bhagavan you? It's the Krishna owns everything. He's the ultimate rich. He's because you have to understand God as an absolute also, as absolute reality. Like this reality we share. It's not like your individual reality you live in now, or my own individual reality. This world we are sharing somehow, right? So to whom ultimately it belongs? To rich person living on earth? No. It's the main concept, mamata, We just crazy thinking it should be mine. It should belong to me, man. It's like, I'm the one. It has to be like that. But it's not, it's illusion. So we have to always be aware of that ultimate rich person, who owns everything, who provides everything, who's the master of all the elements, And Krishna makes it sure that you're just a tiny part of who I am. You're a very tiny part of me, Krishna says. You cannot exist independently. You cannot do anything independently. Krishna explains. And for a very liberal, person, it's scary to know that he has no choice, much of a choice. Common people don't like to know this. They like to know that they can do whatever they like. But a devotee is the one who accepts this. A sincere, honest person, he will accept. Like these persons mentioned, Shukadeva Goswami, Sanaka, Brahmavadis, who don't come and declare, you're all hoax. You're all just here to make business, money, and politics. No. A sincere person will say, Bhagavan, okay, yeah, it's reasonable that this ultimate richest person, who owns all the universe, all the creation. So they become devotees, they're interested in Lord, in Krishna. So for them we preach. For those who want to escape Krishna, who want to escape the mercy of Krishna, who cares about them? There's some way they'll get drowned in Krishna Prema, but put your attention on those who are interested. No, they try to defend atheism in many, many ways. Sanskrit, grammatics, and we don't care of them. Some experts might battle them, but only for a reason. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't go to any crazy fellow. He went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. I mean, actually, that was pastime. He didn't win, but he found it reasonable to explain to him. He didn't explain, just for anyone. He spent like how much? 7 days with hearing. Who would do so? And then Prakashananda Saraswati also, he gave time to them. Not just anyone. If we really are averse to God, it's like we're finished. We have no hope. No hope. No hope. What else? So you got convinced that Krishna is the source of everything?
Yes.
Krishna holds all the features. In other words, also there's in Nectar of Instruction, not instruction, Nectar of Devotion is explained the features of the Lord, how many features he holds, how many qualities he has. And Vishnu and Narayan, they don't have that much of qualities like Lord Krishna does. Though they can be called same because it's the same Krishna but in a different role. In a different role. But Krishna is more superior, more intimate. Only very intimate devotees approach Krishna.
So Krishna has more qualities than Vishnu?
Yes. And those qualities are a little different. There's different. Vishnu has 4 hands and he's considered God in office.
God in office. Nice.
And Krishna is a God at home. He's worshipped by his mother, by his father, Nanda Dulal Jai, like that they worship in Vrindavan, Jai Nanda Yashoda Dulal. The sweetness. Sweetness is in personal approach. In personal. You worship God with his mother, you worship God with his father, family, and cows, and peacocks, and sweetness with his fellows, and that's Madhurya Dham. And this is explaining that God is a person, he is never alone. And he's sweet. Krishna is sweet. What else to be said?
Vishnu. How did you say Vishnu is God in office and Krishna is God at home?
Yeah. We worship in this world him as a God who can also, we should be aware that it can actually be helpful for us. It helps us to understand that we can be punished. Sometimes it's good for us to know, because it helps us to cut off our attachments, bad attachments, not favoring us. Something else?
Vishnu, so is Vishnu an extension of God? Not an incarnation, it's an expansion.
Yeah. It's actually an expansion of Lord Balaram.
But Balaram? And Balaram is an expansion of Krishna? So an expansion of an expansion. What about Gauradesh Vishnu?
Yeah, it goes further on from that, yeah.
I hope this helps convincing someone someday.
Hare Krishna, yeah, you can preach. It's many devotees from Bharatvarsha, and there's a very serious culture of Vishnu worship. Very hard to understand sometimes that Krishna is superior than Lord Vishnu. But it's exciting to preach this because...
Well,
You have studied. Hare Krishna. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Krishna Prabhu ki